I have enjoyed backpacking over the years. It's been one of my favorite things to do. And in fact, the reason I enjoy it, first of all, is not because it's fun to carry 30 to 60 pounds on your back, right? I mean, we all know that that's not exactly the fun thing. The thing about backpacking is the places you can go, right? What you can see when you go backpacking. This is in Switzerland. That's the Matterhorn behind Nancy and me. And those things that's fun. I got into backpacking when I was a young teenager, and my dad had introduced us to camping and stuff, but I got this interest in backpacking, and I was pretty fanatical about going light. Back then, you couldn't buy like super light gear. You had to figure out how to make it light. So I would cut the handles off my toothbrush. You know, you don't need that whole length of handle to brush your teeth. You still don't need it. I still have. I would drill out the handles on pots because you don't need all that extra metal in those pots. I would count out the number of toilet paper squares because you don't need all those toilet paper. Okay, well, you know. I'm not as fanatical today as I was then, and you can buy a lot more ultralight gear today than you could then. But the truth is, when you go backpacking, there are certain things you have to take. I mean, you need a sleeping pad if you don't want to sleep cold. You need a sleeping bag. You need some kind of shelter, some form of shelter. You need food. You need first aid, you know. You need something for fun, a fishing pole or an ice axe, you know, something to do while you're out there. You need clothes to wear, you know, and all those things, just essential things, add up. And so you got this basic necessity. No matter how ultralight you try to go, you're going to have certain things on your back. And you're going to have to carry that. That's just the way it is if you want to do the activity. It's not desirable, right? But it's necessary. This is a picture of our family a few years ago getting ready to go into the Wallowas. If you know our kids, you'll see this was a few years ago. And if you're wondering why I look like a deer in the headlights there, it's because that little guy in the Superman outfit is about to climb into the top of my pack. And we're going to go up several thousand feet of elevation gain. And I knew what it was in for. I mean, that was a tiring hike, right? I mean, that's the nature of backpacking. And it's worth it, but there are certain necessities that come along with it. I think life sometimes is like backpacking. In fact, I think most days of life are like backpacking. That is, that we have all kinds of stuff that's part of the journey of life and that we have to carry along with us. I mean, they're just, even when you try to minimize it, you know, we've got work, we've got school, we've got relationships, you know, the family, the friends, the neighbors, the coworkers, you know, trying to manage those. You know, we got homework, schoolwork, classwork. I mean, we got, and then that, we got all kinds of issues or things going on that we're trying to sort out, right? We got to pay the bills, right? We got to repair the car, the house, or, you know. I mean, there's just, all this stuff is just the stuff of life. Most of it is essential. It's just, but it's heavy. And we go day to day. We are trudging up that trail with the weight of those items in our pack, and it gets a little tiring. We feel like, okay, I need a break. I need a rest, right? Well, here's a way in which I think that backpacking and life are not similar. Because with the backpack, I can take it off, right? I do. I take it off. You get to a rest stop. You get to the trail at the camp at the end of the day, and you can take this thing off. And man, when you take it off, whoa, it just feels amazing. you feel like you could run up the mountain, right? I mean, it's just this wonderful feeling of relief. And it would be nice if we could do that in life. It'd be nice if at the end of a day, when we reached our camp or reached the end of our work day, we'd be able to kind of set everything aside and relax and rest for a few hours and get a good night's sleep. But the truth is that for most of us, it just really doesn't work that way. A lot of those responsibilities and concerns and stuff stick with us, don't they? It isn't like you can go home from work from all your responsibility. You go to another set. And in fact, a lot of us don't even sleep without those things on our mind and on our hearts. We have been taking this year, the first Sunday of every month, to talk about what we're calling a spiritual practice. We're introducing a series of these, and it's going to be an ongoing thing for us that we're going to feature one of these each month, just to invite you into these practices, these habits, these actions that draw us closer in our relationship with God. They provide a way of involving ourselves more in the life of God. And the practice that we're going to talk about this morning is a solution to the constant carrying of the weights and burdens of life that we endure. It's a solution that God gave right from the very beginning. In the opening story of the Bible, He gave us a solution before there was even a problem. The word for it is Sabbath, a regular, rhythmic time of rest that would provide an answer to the constant burdens and work of life. So we're going to talk about the spiritual practice of Sabbath, or Sabbath keeping, this morning. This subject comes up in the very first story of the Bible, like I said, chapter 2. This is right after God finishes 6 days of creation. He does all the work of creation. Chapter 2 says, "Thus the heavens and earth were completed in all their vast array. By the seventh day, God had finished the work that He had been doing, and on the seventh day, He rested from all His work. And then God blessed the seventh day, and He made it holy because He rested from all the work of creating that He had done." And that word rest is the Hebrew word Shabbat, or Sabbath. Okay, so it's translated Sabbath at times. You need to understand that the word is it's not a spiritual word. It's not a especially devout word. It's a time word. It has to do with non-use of time, what we might call wasting time. It's just stopping what you're doing. It's a word about ceasing the use of time. Think about an hourly worker who clocks in at the beginning of the day and clocks out at the end of the day. That clocking out is what this word's about. It's ceasing. The work is done. There's no more to do until you clock back in. And that's the idea of Shabbat or of Sabbath, this word rest. And it says in verse 3 there that God blessed the seventh day and He made it holy. Holy means to be unique or set apart, right? Remember that holy simply means he makes it special. It sets apart from the other days. God blessed that day and made it holy. There's something special from this point on, at the very beginning of the story. From this point on, there's something special about this idea of a rest, of taking a rest. And it shows up. This is a major theme in the Bible. I mean, a major theme in all of the scriptures, beginning to end. And we're probably most familiar with it from the fifth commandment, right, of the 10 commandments. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Remember Sabbath means rest. Remember the rest day and keep it holy, keep it unique, right? 6 days shall you labor and do all your work, but on the seventh day is a rest to the Lord your God, and on it you shall not work. There's the definition of the word. Work, rest. Non-work, non-productive, right? Neither you nor your son nor your daughter, your male or female servant, not your animals, not the foreigners residing in your towns. It's a big deal, right? And this is Israel. This is being given to Israel when Israel had just been delivered out of their slavery, 400 years of slavery in Egypt, and they're at Mount Sinai, and God gives them, he's just establishing a relationship with them. They don't really know this God. And he's just establishing this relationship with him. And he says, look, I want you to set this day aside. All right? That's a little worrisome. They're in this perilous place. They're this journey that they've just begun. They don't know what's going to happen. Even Moses, their leader, is not sure. And so in chapter 33, in response to that uncertainty, God says to Moses, my presence will go with you, and I will give you Sabbath. I will give you rest. That's an incredibly powerful statement. My presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. And you could say that the rest of the story of Israel and the rest of the story of the Bible is a search for rest. It's looking for this experience of rest that God has promised, right? It's a journey. And it's all through the Old Testament, the story of Israel. The poets talk about it. Truly my soul finds rest in God. My salvation comes from him. Yes, my soul, find rest in God. My hope comes from him. Find rest. It's a theme of the prophets. Jeremiah says, this is what Yahweh says. This is what the Lord says. Stand at the crossroads and look. Ask for the ancient paths. Ask where the good way is and walk in it. And you will find rest for your souls. Unfortunately, you said we will not walk in it. That's the Old Testament prophets. Jesus picks the theme up in another well-known passage. Come to me, chapter 11 of Matthew says, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. See that? He's picking the theme up directly from this thread that's running through the Old Testament. Take my yoke upon you, put on your back, put my backpack on you, right? And learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. The writer of Hebrews, right near the end of the Bible, he actually spends his whole chapter 4 in his letter talking about this rest. And he links rest right from the beginning in creation through the story of Israel to Jesus, right to the end, to that ultimate rest that we will experience. And he links it all together in chapter 4. And just one verse from that chapter. There remains then a Sabbath rest for the people of God. For anyone who enters God's rest also rests from their works, just as God did from his. So this idea of rest, this idea of Sabbath is a theme that runs, it's a major theme that runs through the Bible. This seeking and searching, this finding rest. It is, like I said, it's a major theme. And we are not able to deal with all the facets because it's multifaceted, all kinds of layers to it. In the scriptures, we're not able to deal with all of those in one talk, one morning. So what am I going to do this morning? It's not going to be a how-to, how to take a day off. It's going to be a what, why talk. It's saying, what is the Sabbath and why should we practice Sabbath? Okay, that's the kind of thing we're going to talk about. And even then, there's more to talk about than we have time for. So I want to talk about two of the facets in the scriptures that have to do with Sabbath that will help us think about what God has invited us to experience here. And I would call the first of those facets creation rest, or creation Sabbath, all right? This is the kind of rest that we see pictured right there in that opening pattern when God himself took a rest. By the seventh day, God finished the work he'd been doing, and he rested from his work. It's kind of a fascinating, right? It's kind of a mysterious when you stop and think about it. God got tired? No. I mean, not in the way we think of getting tired. God doesn't get tired. The word really means God just stopped. He ceased, right? He clocked out from what he had been doing. And what had he been doing? He'd been creating this universe that we know, this world, this natural creation, including every aspect, including human beings. He had been doing that 6 days, for 6 days. And the sense of this is that God had finished this project that he had been working on, right? You see that first verse? Thus, the heavens and the earth were completed. He finished what he had been, this project he started on, and he was sitting back and he was taking in what he had done and appreciating it, enjoying it, right? That's the picture. That each of those 6 days is summarized when it says that God saw that it was good, day 1. And God saw that it was good, day 2. God saw that it was good, 3, 4, 5. And then on the 6th day, everything is done, and God saw all that he had made, and it was very good. Remember that? The word? And it was very good. And God completed the work that he had done. Back early in the winter this year, Nancy and I decided that we needed to update our kitchen. It had gotten pretty warm from years of raising children and everything, and and it needed some work. And because we wanted to save money, and because I enjoy doing things like that, we decided we'd do it ourselves. So we listed, all the things that we wanted to do in the kitchen. Lighting. We're going to redo all the lighting. We had one fluorescent light right down the middle of the thing. That's just, you watch the YouTube videos, that's not the kind of light you need for a kitchen. You got to have 3 different kinds of lights for your kitchen, So we planned 3 different kinds of lights into the kitchen. And we liked our cabinets, but they needed to be redone. So I'm going to refinish all the cabinets. I'm going to put new drawer slides in, new knobs and new pulls on the drawers. I'm going to put a new molding around all of the cabinets, and new countertop, new plumbing, new fixtures, all that kind of stuff. You just have this list. It's pretty long just to do a little kind of an update. And so I went to work on it. I work sometimes, some evenings I'd work for a little while on, some doors, some cabinets, that kind of thing. And some weekends I would work, and I did that over a period of months. And I would sit down in the kitchen table, and I'd look at the kitchen. I'd done a couple of things, I'd done some of the I'd look and I'd see what I'd done, but what I really saw is what I needed to do, right? The next thing I needed to do. And then, you move forward, and a couple of weeks or a month goes by, and, you get that next thing done, and you sit down and you look, and oh yeah, all right, that's good, but there's this, and there's this, and there. And even when you have all the major things done, you look and you see the details, the finishing, the little, that you've got to do for it to really say it's finished. And then one day I sat down on the kitchen table, and I looked into the kitchen, and I realized it's done. I mean, it's finished, and it's good. It's very good. Now, my project wasn't much compared to God's project. Thus, the heavens and the earth were completed in all their vast array. Creation, right? I mean, wow. But this is what God was doing. That's the sense of it. That God paused, having finished his project, and sat back and looked at that and just enjoyed it. Just took it in. Now I want to insert human beings into this story. All right? Now, we're already there. Human beings are already there. They were created on the 6th day of creation, right? The very final and climactic thing that God did in his creative process was to create these human beings. And they came into a world, And the first thing that they experienced was the seventh day. A day off. A day of rest, right? That's what they experienced. A day to sit back and look around and take in what surrounded them, this universe, this world that they woke up into. They woke up into a world that they didn't make. They wake up into relationships that they didn't create. And the first thing they were invited to do, the first thing they experienced in this world is not work, is not responsibility, but rest and appreciation for what God had made. God was the maker of all of this. God was the creator, not them. They didn't have anything to do with it. They were the recipients of the gifts. Okay? To participate in creation rest is to pause from our doing of things and from our work to look around at the world that God has made in every aspect of it and to soak it in, to appreciate it, to admire it, to recognize that this is not something we did, this is something God, that there is a creator, God, and all of this is a gift from him. Not just the natural world, the physical world, but the people around us. The people are a gift from him. My relationship with him is a gift from him. It's all a gift. That's the first thing. Creation rest is to pause and appreciate God as creator God. Okay? The second kind of rest that I want to focus on, or Sabbath, is what I'd call redemption rest. This is the kind of rest that God offers to us when we've made a mess of things. Okay? That's not the first thing a man and woman observed. There was no mess yet. Didn't take long, did it? In the biblical story, it doesn't take long, and the rest of the story is, Bible story is kind of a story of, much of it is a story of a mess that we made and that God is having to address. And it's not just a Bible story, right? We have our own messes that we make and that has to be addressed. And God offers rest. This is, we already talked about this verse or mentioned this verse in Exodus 33 where God promises to Moses and through Moses to Israel, my presence will go with you and I'll give you rest. It's really insightful to pay attention to the context of this passage because this is one chapter after the golden calf incident. When they had abandoned their faith in God and they made a golden calf and decided they're going to worship this golden calf instead of God because they didn't really know better. They'd made a mess of things, right? Twice earlier in chapter 33 of Exodus, God speaks about the people of Israel. He says they are a stiff-necked people. Stiff-necked, right? Stubborn, sinful, stupid people. Israel, not us. Yeah, a stiff-necked people, and yet he makes this promise right here. I will go with you, and I will give you rest. Pretty incredible promise. Redemption rest is what, if you have been with us the last couple of weeks, when we have talked about this incredible story of the prodigal sons. Redemption rest is what that son experienced. That young man who had wasted away his inheritance. He made a mess of his life, and he came back with nothing, expecting almost nothing back. And yet, what does his father do? He wraps him in his arms, and he throws a party for him. Can you imagine what that young man would have felt like standing around the edges of that party going on? The feeling of relief and wonder that he would have experienced. That's redemption rest. That's we make a mess of it and God offers redemption, offers solution. He offers a way. to relieve us of the anxiety, of the weight, of the failure. Redemption rest. That's the kind of rest that Jesus is talking about here in this passage that we already referred to. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened. Why are we weary and burdened? Because we made a mess, right? And maybe we made the mess. Maybe the people around us made the mess. You know, sinful, stupid, stubborn, stiff-necked, right? That's the story. And it produces all kinds of chaos and pain and brokenness in the world. And we live in the middle of that. That's just the reality of it. We live in the middle of that. And Jesus says, look, I know what it feels like. I know what you're going through. I know the weight that you bear. Come to me. Come to me, you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke. Learn from me. You will find rest for your souls. What's interesting about this passage is that right after this, what we have are several of what we call the Sabbath day controversies. Sabbath day, rest day controversies with the Pharisees. What they had done, what the spiritual leaders of Israel had done, is they made all kinds of rules for the Sabbath, all kinds of restrictions. Behave this way, do this, say this, don't do this. I mean, it was incredible, the number of restrictions they had. And Jesus said, you completely turned the Sabbath on its head. The very purpose of the Sabbath was a day of freedom, relief from the stresses and the burdens of life. You've turned the day into a burden itself, into just a set of rules that just add to the weight you have to carry. It's fascinating. What Jesus says is the answer to the anxiety and the burdens and the worries and your failures and everything you have there is found in me. In the storyline of the Bible, in the story of redemption, the search for rest, finding a place of rest, is met in the person of Jesus Christ. He is our rest. He is the place where we find rest. Redemption rest. Practicing redemption rest is coming to Jesus and reminding ourselves, pausing from the work that we're doing for the busyness of our lives, and pausing and recognizing that we aren't in control of everything and that we can't fix things. But Jesus provides all that we need, and he is the provider, as we know, through his sacrificial death. We already sung about it today. Through what he did on the cross. He is the provider of our needs. It's a gift. It's a gift. That's what Sabbath is about. Reminding ourselves that every good thing, creation, redemption, comes from God as a gift. That's where it's going. So, like I said, this isn't going to be a how-to. Practice the Sabbath. I'm not going to tell you what you need to do to take a day off. You can figure that out. Maybe there'll be another time to talk about it. What I would like to do is just leave you with something to think about this week. All right? I want something to chew on. Really encourage you to do that. And that is, what does it feel like to really find rest? Okay? What does it feel like, this rest that Jesus is talking, this rest that the Bible says that we're searching for? What would it look like in my life? What would it feel like in my experience? I'm thinking about the people of Israel. Out there in the desert. This is when it's all introduced to them. They've been 400 years slaves in Egypt. They have made bricks to build the Pharaoh's cities. They've grown his crops. They've served under his thumb. And suddenly they're actually free. They're free of that. They've been led by Moses out of Egypt. And they are They're now in a wilderness, right? So they're free, but they're in this desolate wilderness around Mount Sinai. They're thinking, okay, how are we going to survive? Right? I mean, they had to be thinking that. This is not like the Nile River Delta with all the crops and all the food and all the water. This is a desert. This is a wilderness. They're out there thinking, what's our future look like? What are we going to eat? What are we going to do? Where are we going? Where are we headed? Surely not here, right? This isn't the place. And everywhere they go, they've already run into it. They're going to run into it. Everywhere they go, there are people that just want to kill them. That's what there's already people in these lands. They don't want them there. They'll attack them. They want to kill them. So everywhere they go, they have to look over their shoulder. They have to watch the edges of the camp. They're always on their guard. Great uncertainty. Yet God says to them, I will go with you and I will give you rest. What would rest have looked like for the people of Israel at that time? What would they have been thinking of as rest? Well, that's the promised land, isn't it? This land, this home. There's a land, God said. There's a land flowing with milk and honey. There's a land, not a high desert, but a lush land. Orchards and grapes hanging from the vine and grain growing in the fields and water flowing in the rivers, place where you can have homes, where you can live with family and friends and live in community and celebrate life together. And nobody's hungry. Nobody has to worry about food to eat or clothes for their back. I mean, this is, wouldn't that be a rest? And you got to have security, right? You got to have safety. No enemies at the gates. No enemies looking over the borders. You don't have to have a guards posted on your borders. You don't have to put up fences or walls or missile systems. There's nobody there that's going to attack you. That would be rest. Just this life. That's something like what I suspect it would mean for them. Hard for them even to imagine a life like that kind of world, right? So I want you to think about yourself. I've been thinking about this for myself. But, what are those weary things that make us weary and burdened? What are the things that create that anxiety for us, create that feeling of restlessness that we're always on the edge? And we have them, We're in our own kind of wilderness at times, right? We have our own things that we wrestle with. We worry about our nation, right? I mean, from the biggest picture up, we worry about where we're at. We've been so privileged to live in such conditions that we live in, and yet we worry about the politics of it. We worry about our relationship to other countries. We worry about economics, right? I mean, finances, all the way from kind of the national financial things right down to what it takes to pay the bills every week. There are folks right here in this room who don't have a single day of their life where they do not have to worry about money. Right? I mean, it's just there, right? It's a reality. Physical. I mean, how are we doing physically? Is there something wrong with us? Are we getting old? You are. What's that mean? What's that? We've got folks fighting cancer and other things like that. It's there. It's part of the reality of life, and it's always on our backs, right? Relationships. We have good ones. We have bad ones. We have ones we wish we could restore, wish we could make better. Sometimes we just don't have them. We're lonely. There's nobody. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. What would it look like to be free of those concerns, of that weight? What would it feel like? All right? That's what I want you to think about. What would that feeling be like to not, can you imagine not having to even think about money? Not an issue. Not have to think about paying the mortgage, or can I buy a house, or can we fix the car, right? Not even think about it. You can't even imagine it, can you? I mean, relationships, healthy and good, close, right? Wouldn't that be something? No worries about our bodies. And no worries about what's happening. We're strong, we're vital, nothing to be concerned with. No bum knee, no cancer, right? I mean, I'm just engage in this. Think about this. I want you to take this home with you. I want you to think about this. I had an appointment, and I had a nurse take some blood recently and take my blood pressure and do some things like that. And when she took my blood pressure, she said, it's a little high. So she took it again, high again. And she looked at me, and she was really fun. She was really good. She said, you shouldn't have high blood pressure. And, you're just, why are you scared? She said, you don't have to be scared of me. She said, why are you anxious? Why are you nervous about it? Just calm down. I'll take it again in a few minutes. So I did some other things, and she came back. She's going to take it. She says, now what I want you to do, she says, is I just want you to breathe easy. She said, I want you to go to your happy place. Right? So I want you to go to your happy place. Go to a place where you just feel totally at rest. Right? Good. I don't know if anybody's ever said that to you. They probably have. But where do they go? Where did my imagination take me? Well, it took me to a snorkeling off of Kiwanaku Beach in Maui. Just out there gently paddling in that warm water. Boy, one of the most relaxing things I can think of. It took me, I thought of every year we go to Cove Palisades State Park. I thought of myself sitting on those beach chairs overlooking the water reading a book. The most relaxing week of the year for me, every year. I thought of that. She said, I want you to stop thinking anxious thoughts. I want you to go to the place where you feel most rested. Now, I'm not talking about positive thinking. I'm not talking about the power of positive thinking here. What I'm talking about is the power of faithful thinking. The power of taking Jesus as his word here. Of pausing in all of our anxious busyness to do and to produce and to be accepted and all of that, and just pausing to say, God's my creator. He made everything in this world. He made the people in my life. He rules this world, despite whatever appearances there may be behind the scenes. God is the ruler of the world. Not only that, I belong to him. I'm his. I'm his child. I'm his son. I'm his daughter. I'm in his hands. And ultimately, there's not a thing that can hurt me. Ultimately. Jesus said, come to me, you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest for your souls. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? So I want you to think about it. Take a day, take an hour this week to just think about what it means to accept Jesus' invitation, to come to him, to pause and to think about what does rest really mean? Because he said, I will go with you and I will give you rest. Lord, thank you for your word. Lord, you know our hearts. You know us better than we know ourselves. You see these worries. You see this weariness. You see the burdens that we carry. Lord, and you have provided a way for us to remember to get a taste of your rest every week on a regular basis. And so, Lord, we don't take advantage of your offer. And Lord, I just pray that you would be at work in our hearts and our minds, in my heart and my mind, that you would remind me that this life is not all about what I can do and what I produce, but it's really about what you have done for me and around me and how you offer it as a gift. In Jesus' name, amen.